To Grandma Kathy Buckworth joins us now with her tips for Grandma Boot Camp. And it's 5 things to exercise, but exercise is only one of them, like the physical exercise.
Exactly. Exercising your body is just one of them. So that's my 5 tips for a Grandma Boot Camp are exercise these things. So number 1, your body. And what I mean by that is we think we're in pretty good shape, and a lot of us are, but guess what? Holding even a 7-pound baby can put your back out, can hurt your arm if you're not used to it. Same with, I joke about when you're crouching down for that toddler grab and you're like, oh no, it's gonna like knock me backwards. You need a lot of strength and balance training. So if you're a runner, if you're doing other things, make sure you're working some strength and balance training. You're going to need it. Right. And then you might be changing diapers, or low table, all of those different movements that we don't naturally do.
Even putting a child or a toddler into a vehicle seat.
Absolutely, and pulling them out of a low-slung crib, things like that, right? So practice those movements. Okay, so the second thing you need to advertise is your mouth. And what I mean by that is, I had parenting strategies that I loved and employed when my 4 kids were young. Guess what? They're not the same anymore, Annette. Yeah. So the new generation of parents, if you want to call it the millennial and Gen Z parents, they are doing things differently probably than you did. And guess what? That's okay. And they're allowed to do that.
Because you did things different than your parents
Absolutely.
did.
And you're not allowed to criticize them in front of their face. Behind their back is fine, but do their face. But,
or on television.
Right, and say, well, you turned out fine, things like that. Guess what? If you want to have a good relationship with your grandkids, the kids hold the keys to the grandparent kingdom. Protect that relationship first. Respect what they're doing. If you have questions about it, say, I don't understand why you're doing it this way. Ask them questions, but don't just say, that's wrong. We did it this way.
Yeah. Or do things behind their back.
Or behind their back.
Differently, right? Like when you're babysitting?
Yeah, the whole thing about what happens at grandma's house, that's not a thing anymore. You have to listen to what they say and do it the same at your house. The third thing I would say is exercise your budgetary control. And what I mean by that is so easy to buy all these fun things for the grandkids, but do they really need them, particularly if it's not the first grandkid? I just had my 3rd. They don't need as many clothes, as many baby equipment, etc. Guess what a good buy is? A lawnmower if they just moved into a bigger house, a cleaning service for the family, a cleaning service if they can't get to it, a meal service. And if you can't afford those things or you don't want to spend the money on those things, do them yourself maybe. Do some gardening for them, bring over a meal, help clean the house. Those are things that you can really give to the families that they don't need in the baby sort of way.
Right. And you think of so many, I've read so many parents that are like, okay, we're trying to cut down on like toys for the kids and stuff for the kids, but I can't stop my parents from.
Exactly.
Right? Just respect that.
Respect that. Except they say, I don't want any more toys, don't buy them any more toys, right?
Yeah.
The 4th thing you want to exercise is your control of your social media. So this is a thing, obviously, that wasn't a thing when my kids were young. My parents didn't have, they weren't taking a million photos and sharing them. Check in with the kids about what their social media rules are. Basic things like, can you show their faces? Do people want to know where they live? Like, don't show a street sign or a landmark. And above all else, don't criticize other people in their world. So don't say my other in-laws did this, or the kid's teacher did that, or the neighbors of my kids are this, because it really infiltrates their world and it's not yours to share. So check in with them to say what's okay that I share on social media about your kids, because they're not your kids, they're their kids.
Right. And what about even like posting photos?
Yeah, any photos at all. Check in. I always check in with my daughter is actually a very heavy user of Instagram, but I also always check in with her to say, is this okay for me to post? And her husband doesn't like to be included, so I don't include him. I know some of these rules going in, right?
Because I wasn't sure if your daughter was married or not.
There you go.
I didn't know. It works.
It works. It works. And she'll post sometimes pictures of him, but he'll say, Kathy, not today, not me. And I'm like, that's cool. That's fair. And the 5th thing I would say was exercise your rightful place in their family. And what I mean by that is grandparents are an important part of the family. But guess what? When the grandkids get older, you're going to own that responsibility. When they're young, their parents say, come over, babysit them, do whatever. When kids start to get like tweens and teens, you're going to have to make the effort to go to their games, drive them to practice, pick up the phone, do a FaceTime, visit them in person, send them a letter. It's going to be on you, because guess what? I'm thinking 14-year-old boys call grandma, maybe not the top of their list. Could be, but it's you're the grown-up, they're the kid. That still stands.
And then I bet they always appreciate a call.
Absolutely, absolutely. And during the pandemic, heavy lockdown period, my kids were calling their grandparents, my parents, because they couldn't see them as much anymore. So, that's been the great thing about all the Zoom calls and FaceTime, et cetera. You have no excuse to stay in face-to-face contact with your grandkids.
Okay, 5 great tips there. We've got 30 seconds left to plug your show, because your radio show.
Yes, my radio show and podcast on Zoomer, To Grandma. We're celebrating our 100th episode coming up on July the 8th. It's airing, just recorded it, so much fun. And we just renewed for season 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you, very exciting, I love it.
We'll get all your stuff up at our website at chch.com/morninglive.